We're trying to get the zoom on the TV. Can you visually see it yet on the screen? You should just be able to sign in on Zoom and broadcast it. We're covering the Symbio A2L 454B Precedent RTU today. I just wanted to give you the pretty much the basics of it, what you need to prepare yourself before getting into the Precedent package unit. We will have the split systems in a couple months as I work and put together some trainings. There was some limited information on the Symbio product, so we've worked hard over the last year to gather some information and some stuff from the field that we've seen. Gensco Tech Services is 253-620-8282. Call or text if you are in the field or have some preliminary installation questions. Feel free to reach out to us. Texting is probably the fastest. We are experiencing high volume of calls as of late. Text in a picture of your data plate, what you're working on, brief description, your company name, your name if you're not already in there. We build you into the system, so next time you don't have to repeat yourself. If you take a picture of that model and serial number, it really speeds up the process as we don't have to listen to that voicemail 3 times. And then, of course, we're big on pictures. So if you are experiencing, give us pictures. Give us pictures of what you're working on, your wiring, your installation, and whatnot, so we can help you in a timelier fashion. Not sure why my screen's not changing here. Hold on. There we go. Excuse me. Precedent RTU 3 to 25 ton Symbio control with the 454 mitigation control. So this new 454B mitigation control is new and it is not an option. You have to have it. GenscoCustomer.com. This training will be posted as soon as possible. But if you go inside GenscoCustomer.com, we have a lot of technical training videos already loaded up. There's some field wiring of Symbio. We have the Symbio Quick Hitter app. So feel free to browse through there because every video, every quick hitter we will do will be uploaded onto Gensco Customer for viewing. Of course, YouTube. I went through all these train commercial education and training, bunch of Symbio, right? So if you type in Symbio in YouTube, I love YouTube. I've ripped apart engines just watching it. Upgrade firmware, controller replacement, adjusted protocol, IP configurations. I mean, there's probably 50 of these Symbio 700 5-minute videos, 15-minute, 8-minute, right? So take advantage of that. If you're getting into Symbio, this is the future because Symbio is going to be in every package unit, big and small. So prepare yourself, get familiar with it, make it easier on yourself when you're installing it and servicing it. Supporttrain.com. I'll have another QR code at the end. This is a great site. They've worked really hard on putting in a bunch of information. This is another resource for you to take advantage of. You kind of go in here like commercial rooftop splits. It's going to prompt you to Symbio, or if you have the older Reliatel or even UCP controls. Again, we at Gensco carry 3 to 25 ton equipment, so that's our main spot in there. But a lot of information for you or to take advantage of in support.train.com. If you do not have the app, everybody needs this app. Go ahead, scan that QR code right now. It's going to prompt you to your Symbio app. You have to have it. Well, I guess you could do a lot of things without it, but it's a lot more processing. You got to push buttons multiple times and navigate through that setting. But this is what it's going to look like. You got your little doghouse, vented doghouse with wrench. Go ahead, download that. This is what you're going to see. Do not worry about login to Train Connect remote access. You are not going to be doing that. You're going to be viewable available devices once you turn the Bluetooth on. I'm not going to get into the navigation of the app too much because I already put out that 1-hour quick hitter. So refer to Gensco Customer for that training video. or YouTube the factory videos. I want to include this because we've had a few of these. You can head to Android Play Store. Apple, they have added user tracking. So if you have an iPhone and it freezes on this screen and doesn't allow you to view available devices, it'll freeze on the screen. We've had quite a few of these. You need to, if disabled, it only shows the picture of the building. So enable tracking in phone settings and Symbio app. You have to go to settings, your privacy and security. This is for your iPhones. It does create some glitches and some hiccups in the field. So if everybody just knows that, it might speed them up. When ordering equipment, the 410A, if you could still get any 410A package gear, you will not be able to add factory accessories like economizers and all that, and smoke detectors. If you're ordering the 454B, you can add your factory economizers, powered exhaust, minimum position potentiometer, electric heat kits, but most of the time we're seeing a lot of these field installed accessories, FIA, field installed accessories. So you need to know what you have in the system before you start working on it and programming the Symbio board. If you order it from factory, you're going to get a economizer with the fresh air options module. And I'm going to have a better picture of this, but the fresh air options module is going to sit inside the economizer right there. And then with the economizer, the older ones, you just had a mixed air sensor in the return air compartment and near the fresh air. This economizer, the Symbio economizer, uses the discharge air sensing tube kits. I'll show you that. Again, powered exhaust, you're going to require the fresh air options module. It's going to plug both into here. Also, if you enable economizer in the app, it's going to look for the fresh air options module. And if you don't have it installed, it's going to prompt an error code. And then this board, fresh air options module, is the same as this board, address different, but the indoor options module will sit above the heat strip, or the heat strips go right here. The fresh air or the indoor options module will sit up here, and I have better pictures of that. This is a great picture I send to a lot of people when we're identifying what you have in your system. This is extremely important because we need to know what you have installed in there. So when we go to program, again, here's our fresh air options module. This is address 76. If you order it from factory, it's going to come with a little jumper harness right in the middle of it that it's already addressed to 76. But if you're field installing the accessory, there's two dials right here. These two dials right here, it'll be 7, 6, and that is going to tell it that it's a fresh air options module. The same board can be used as your indoor options module, but you're going to address it 75, and that will control your heat strip kit. And then ignition module, that is a single board. So if you have a gas pack, it's going to be, you're going to have the IGN ignition control. Here's our main Symbio control board. You will always have a Symbio control board and the adapter board right above it. Again, these are for accessories that we won't very rarely see up here in the Northwest for reheat systems and whatnot for DHU. Here's our new mitigation refrigerant leak detector. Again, I'll show better pictures of this. Here's a frost-stat. This comes on every unit. If you order a return air smoke detector, that is going to be wired into your indoor options module. So that's going to land if that's factory installed. I'll show you what you have to do if you have a third party mounted in the ductwork smoke, because we're going to wire it into the Symbio board. But this is a great picture for the board layout. 454B precedent nomenclature model package unit. So again, you need to know what you're working on, what you're ordering. Your digit 1 is pretty much what we see is the Y is your gas pack with cooling, just AC. Your W is going to be your package heat pump. S is standard efficiency, high efficiency. Digit 2, we usually see the YS or WS. This is what it was, J for 410A. Now we are going to see the K for 454B. So YSK or WSK, 454B, leak detector, not optional. Of course, your digit 4, 5, and 6 will be your tonnage. Here's a good, easy chart to refer to. Design sequence on number 7, your digit 8 is the voltage. Again, we got to pay attention to what voltage we have for the units because we're going to be setting those up, and you're going to have to set up the board if you replace a circuit board. And S is for Symbio, so digit 9. There are still some E for electromechanical. E is just straight up 24-volt system. Any thermostat can work on it. Any thermostat can work on this too. Zone sensors are the best to utilize the efficiency of it, but any 24-volt stat can work. Digit 10, your gas is stainless steel heat exchanger or modulating. Digit 11, if we have some heat strip or what efficiency gas we might have. 12, 13, 14, 12 and 13 are VFD types. So if you see a 04 or a 05, 06, or a 07, we might have a separately mounted VFD in there instead of a plenum fan motor. Digit 14, this is one I always pay attention to because once I put in your model and serial number, it gives me the long model number, and I go ahead and click on it, and it gives me the breakdown of what it was ordered with from the factory. So we're going to see a lot of dry bulb, downflow low leak economizer dry bulb Ks. Your supply fan multi-speed motor is 0. Most of them all are going to have the multi-speed motor. Excuse me. Digit 16, your accessories. If it's got the convenience outlet ordered and whatnot. Your communications, this is another one I pay attention to. You have to order it if you're using it for BACnet or some kind of building automation system, BAS. Digit 21, you're going to order it with it already in there. It's going to come from factory ready to talk to your building automation system with some addressing. I haven't seen any with the expansion model. Here's our digit 24 smoke detector. You can order it with the supplier smoke too. And you're going to also have another board, that customer connections. That supplier smoke fits into another board, so you'll have an accessory on there. And if it's not ordered from factory, you'll see a 0, no smoke detector. You will always have, well, you can order it with clogged filter, discharge air sensing tube. So if it's got an economizer, we're going to see a 3 right here. And I was trying to load up an actual model number and give you a breakdown, but ran out of time. So mitigation in the precedent. So this is a leak detection refrigerant charge greater than 3.91 pounds. So pretty much 4 pounds. Anything above a 4-pound charge will have leak detection system. The leak detection system consists of 1 or more refrigerant detection systems. In the 12.5 ton and up, you're going to have 2 on the evaporator coil and only 1 on the smaller package units. When the system detects a leak, the following mitigation actions will be initiated until refrigerant has not been detected for at least 5 minutes. So all compressor operations disabled. So if it senses a leak, it's going to disable compressor. The supply fan operates continuously at an above defined minimum speed. So it has been ramping up about 50% of the capability of the tonnage size. So after the supply fan operation is proving, electric heat, gas heat, economizer cooling, and ventilation operate normally. Now this is important because Train American Standard has thoroughly tested these under UL conditions to make sure that they did not ignite the 454B refrigerant. So Train American Standard paid a lot for testing. They tested every unit and every heat strip combination, every gas heat exchanger. We do not reach ignition point for that refrigerant. So we are okay to operate gas and heat strip during a mitigation event. So that's important, because what if we accidentally get triggered in the middle of winter? You have a refrigerant leak and you can't use, or something failed or whatnot, and you can't use your heat when you need it the most. So that is important, that we allow our emergency heat, our heat during a mitigation event. So alarm output energizes on the customer options module. So we will have a customer options module if you need an alarm output tying into said building, and building fire and smoke systems may override this function. So you will need a customer options module if you got to tie into a building suppression system. If the refrigerant sensor has a fault, is at the end of its life, or disconnected. Now they do say these things 10 to 15 years. The unit will initiate the mitigation actions. So again, there's no good way to test these sensors yet. I do believe we are going to get some kind of aerosol can spray where we can spray a small amount of refrigerant in there to actually test it. But as far as testing the sensors, there's no good way to test them yet. Mitigation actions may be verified by disconnecting the sensor. So if you disconnect the sensor, that will activate mitigation. That's how you're going to test it. The refrigerant sensors do not need service. Use only manufacturer approved sensors when replacement is required. So that's what it looks like right there. Now in the Odyssey splits, they are going to be wired differently, but it will be the same sensor. Leak detection system consists of one or more refrigerant detection sensors. So when system detects the leak, supply fan will energize. So you're going to disable compressor and you're going to enable the supply fan. And you're going to be able to change that amount of airflow for desired, but right now it's at 50% of whatever the tonnage is. And realistically, I think it was 500 CFM per 20 pounds of refrigerant. So it is pretty minimum for the amount of airflow to dissipate the refrigerant. So when the system gets powered up from 24 volt, when the system gets powered, 24 volt is supplied from the UC, that's unit controller, Symbio 7 controller, P5 to the LDS, leak detection system, terminals 1 and 2. So it's got a gray and blue wire. Odyssey platform uses 24 volt binary, so we can actually test that 24 volt, which makes it a little bit easier. Precedent uses Modbus communication, so we'll be at that 4.8 volts DC on LDS 3 and 4. So there's our 3 and 4. So we will have this via tech support if we got to get intricate into diagnostics. I'm not going to dive too deep into that right now. Here's a quick overview of what the Precedent Rooftop Unit Modbus. Here's our leak detection. That's our sensor right there. A lot going on there. So it's going to be communicating to UCP1. And that's where this is the top of the Symbio board. So that is our 24 volt going to it. Now be aware, this sensor is normally open until energized. So if we try to see if that thing's closed, because it's supposed to be normally closed during normal operation, and it's going to open when it desenses refrigerant, it is normally closed until we apply power. Keep that in mind. If leak detection occurs, we will go into mitigation and we'll give you an active alarm. If the communication is lost to the LDS leak detection sensor, mitigation will occur. So if that fails, so if all IMC and Modbus in the system is communicating, supply fans, option module, fresh air, again, if any of these do not communicate, it will activate an alarm in your app. We can go right into the alarm section right here, and we will be able to see that. So this is I mean, this is why I love this system so much better than the Reliatel. Reliatel would just give us a two flash and we didn't know actually, we just knew there was a fault and you still had to dig into it to see what your fault was. This is actually going to give us communication status. So if we see an alert saying refrigerant leak sensor, where are we going to start our diagnostics? We're going to start at the sensor to see what's going on. They have these splices in there. So if it's not communicating, look at the splice connection and ensure that it's got a good connection. Now, there were some weird ones up in Alaska where we had some condensation and then freeze. So it started to freeze and the condensation kind of peeled that apart because ice got underneath there and they had a hole open to, there was an open hole to atmosphere. So we were freezing in there. Refer to the technician app to see active alarms in service to see where the refrigerant leak sensor is communicating. So again, a lot of different alerts that prompts us to concentrate wherever the diagnostic is needed. In the event of a control system, the control system detects the refrigerant sensor has failed, become disconnected or unpowered, the controls will respond with a diagnostic alert. And again, if any of the if it detects refrigerant or if the leak sensor has failed, maybe the frostat has failed and we have ice buildup and the ice has wrapped around the leak sensor and ruined it, right? So I don't know if we're going to have to replace these every 4 years or not, but it might be wise to keep a couple extra in stock on your commercial service rigs to change them out, even preventative maintenance because it is a safety device. This was a poor design in my opinion because it's behind. You actually have to take this off to see your LED. It's kind of, you can kind of see the flash in the metal. So in the reflection of the metal, I really wish they would put it up front. There is another LED down here, but it's not the diagnostic LED. So remember, there is a diagnostic LED. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this isn't a diagnostic one. This is a quick hitter that gets you started understanding what's going on with the A2L 454B precedents. But keep in mind, there is that LED on the back side that you can take off. Modbus and IMC. IMC is your inter-module connection communication. So it's going to be talking in between boards. And your Modbus is talking to all the fans, UC controller. So we do have two different communication lines in here. And this kind of shows you Modbus goes to our staged, our ignition control board, our plenum fan, and communicating leak detector. IMC talks to all the modules. IMC connections. Here's our Symbio 700 board. Again, this is a great slide I can send out if you need to. This just kind of shows you the path of your IMC connection points. This shows that it's passing through. This is a hinge right here, and there's hinge Molex plugs right here. Now, some of those during transport can come disconnected. That's why I wanted to show you this. If we are having an alert that our adapter board's not communicating, this is the wire path that we're going to follow to check connections. And then if we open this panel up, we're going to have line voltage compartment behind it, and we can actually see it. And then that follows through over to your indoor options module. Again, what is the indoor options module control? Controls your heat strip and one of your smokes. Fresh air options module then carries over there where the wiring is in this compartment for you when you add your economizer. Remember, fresh air options module for economizer needs to be address number 76. Stepper motor, this is for reheat. So it's also, that's inside this compartment. Very rarely will you see these two boards. Customer connections options module. This right here, if you're adding the heat strip, so this is just the jumper adapter, you're going to remove that and you're going to plug it into your two IMC connections right here. I do believe I added a slide on that. Modbus. Here's our Symbio 700. Modbus is going to hop up to the adapter board through this hinge. Again, I want you to check when we open up this hinge, just verify that you have nothing hanging there that doesn't have a designated space. If you get used to looking for that first time starting up, it might save you a bunch of time. If you do find it with any factory issue that you think is factory, please, please, please take a picture of it with the data plate and send in the tech services so we can report that to factory as soon as possible. That way we can let them know that's what's happening in the field or transport, and they can fix it, hopefully. And we're following the path of Modbus. Ties into your leak detection. Again, on the 12.5 and above, we will have another leak detection Modbus connection on top of the evaporator coil. And then it carries through the plenum fan. So that's a nice little routing. I mean, it's not an actual picture, but if we have to get into diagnostics, this is a great one that I send out saying, okay, let's follow some wires. Low voltage. So this is that low voltage panel, and here's that hinge connections right here. So when we open this up, we'll be able to see the back side of this. And then here is our thermostat connection. I got another picture of that, but if you're using a standard 24 volt, everybody, that T-stat ground is your common. And then you have your BAS, building automation system, is going to communicate right here. Here's our, I'll dive back into this, but this is your 24 volt out. This is the J18 right here. That is for your duct supplied smoke detector or any kind of emergency stop. That is your E-stop. So remember that, because this is a normally open contact right here. If you wire anything into the 24 volt E-stop, you will have to go inside the app, and I got a slide showing it, to reverse connection polarity, and it will be a normally closed contact at that point in time, and you can hook it up to a normally closed safety device. Here's our zone sensors. If you're using zone sensors, CO2 detector, we get a lot of calls. This does wire into the J22 on the Symbio control board. So if you have a CO detection system, it's right there. And remember, a Symbio 700 UC must be configured to be precedent if replaced. So if we do have a short circuit or some reason this Symbio control board has failed, you put a new one in from factory. It's all programmed and set up with whatever factory ordered accessories you have. You replace this board, you have to go through and set it up with exactly what you have in the system. So keep that in mind. Here's our high voltage panel as we open this up. Again, you can see the back side of the hinge plugs right here. It comes set up for 230. So if you have a 208 system, you will have to swap these connectors to the 208 transformer. So keep that in mind. What else we got in here? We got all of our contactors, of course, and I'll show you that phase. This one has a heat strip. Brief Symbio app navigation. So when we actually go in here and replace a board or we add accessories in the field, this is what we see through Symbio app. Again, you've already pressed Bluetooth, you've got connected in your app, it gives you the pairing code, you press the check mark and you are linked into it. Again, I have another video on the Symbio app, basic functions in Gensco Customer, or visit YouTube for tutorial videos. So you got your home, you got your settings. That's where we're going to do all of our configurations, right? Here's our status. So complete view of the machine. We can't change anything, but how is it working and what are we calling for? Of course, current alarms, what is happening now in historical alarms. Is it critical? Is it yellow? It'll still operate, but we needs attention. Tools. We use tools quite a bit with service test mode, which I love this service test mode. There's no more running up and down or adding jumpers. That service test mode, keep in mind, does override a 5-minute wait time. So you can slam it into heating and cooling pretty quick. So watch your pressures. Communication configuration. We go inside tools too to see what is communicating, which is pretty important if we have multiple control boards in there. Here's what the app, this is what it looks like, right? So we go in the settings. We can go in the view configuration. I would like to show this too. I didn't put it in red. Enable external BAS control. That is for building automation system. You can put standalone thermostat in here. So if we have a thermostat, we will need to change that to standalone thermostat. So view configuration, change equipment type. Now, if we're replacing the board, this board can be set up for an Odyssey split, Precedent package, or the larger Voyager 3. Again, this one, if we're using it in Precedent, we got to make sure we're choosing Precedent. These are older slides, so watch for this. If it says 410A, we'll have to change that to our 454B. So if it thinks we're on 410A, we're not going to be looking for the mitigation control sensor. You might have to change your voltages. Again, if you order it from factory, they should all be set up already. System type, this is for our fan, so this is constant volume zone temp. Always put it on constant volume CVZT, unless we're getting into some VAV boxes. For the larger ones, it'll be VVZT, variable volume zone temp, which could be into multi-zones. Again, that CVZT distribution. I have not seen that one yet. They're constantly, they're constantly updating the app too. They've already updated a couple times, which is kind of hard because once I finally committed to memory on where something is in the app, I go through it with somebody in the field and it's changed. So just, this is constantly evolving. So please, thank you for your patience, adapt, overcome, right? Give us a call. We'll walk you through it the best we can. If not, we can get a hold of factory and get some factory support on the line. Again, stopping the equipment, anytime you go in the configurations, it will give it'll stop, right? So it prompts you to proceed. So you kill the equipment. So if they need emergency cooling in there while you're doing setup, they're not going to have it. We're going to go and edit. Everybody keep that check mark in the back of your brain, right? So in the configuration, we're going to go and edit. Now we're free to edit. Refrigeration system cooling only, efficiency standard. So where do we get this information? Remember that nomenclature that I was showing you earlier? This is where it comes in handy knowing what your system is and what's in that model number, because all of that is right there. Now, if you don't have it right in front of you or whatnot, give us the serial number and I can send it to you. What was installed from factory. So you have it and you just go right down and I'll show you the appendix B form I can send you to. Hot gas reheat, dehumidification control. We probably won't see that too much where we are. Tonnage. Is it a single manifold? Again, Odyssey, you'll have dual manifold and whatnot. Is it AC only or heat pump? What efficiency is it? Do you see how there's no completion too? What you're going to do is you're going to go in here and select it, and then you're just going to go back, right? So at the end of configuration, we're going to do the check mark, and then it'll save it everything. So you don't have to save each one. Here's what it kind of looks like when, as you scroll down configuration, you're going to see multiple space controller. You're going to be able to edit that and put in conventional T-stat. On some of them, they are coming for zone sensor, so you have to change it from zone sensor to T-stat because there's a spot on that UC700, the Symbio control board for the zone sensor. If it doesn't know it's going to be using a conventional thermostat, it won't be looking for it. It's going to be looking for that zone sensor input. We're scrolling down. You got your primary heating type. If you have heat strip or gas heat, how many stages? Do you have ventilation override? It's possible that you do. This is a big one. Everybody thinks if you have the third-party smoke detector in the duct that we keep, right? So we're doing a retrofit. We set the new rooftop unit on. That old ductwork smoke detector is still in there. Let's reuse it. We do not enable this. This will look for that customer connections polarity. That's for accessories like clogged filter and whatnot. So that is an external. We don't use that if we are using a third party. We're going to land it on that J18 on the Symbio control. If you enable this and you don't have that customer connections options module, it'll prompt you to alert, right? So frost stat, that comes on all of them. So that's going to be installed. Of course, if you have humidity sensor, if you enable CO2 sensor and you have nothing landed on that CO2 sensor spot, it'll prompt you an alert, right? So if you not installed, it won't look for it. So keep that in mind. Discharge temperature sensor, you're going to have that with the economizer. So if you have an economizer selected, you will get, and this shows not installed in your app, you will get an alert. Here's a good picture of our Symbio 700. Now I have more detailed slides that go into this, but again, this is quick hitter. So this is just to show you where everything is. Here's our CO2. So if you have something landed on here, you have your CO2, we have to turn it on. If you don't have something and you turn that on, it'll be looking for an input on your J22. Here's your humidity. Here's your switchover valve, compressor, your circuit proving one, which we have some compressor proving switch errors. We have some tech tips on the compressor proving. If you do get one of those, of course, we want to do all the basics, make sure we got airflow, make sure we got refrigerant in the system. There could be a loose connection in the wiring to the compressor proving circuit. Here's our phase monitor. I'll show you a picture of that. Here's our discharge air sensor, factory or field installed. It's going to wire into our Symbio control board. Here's our outside air temperature, and here's our frost stat, normally closed frost stat. Lands down there because it's going to disable compressors if we get a frozen evaporator. Low pressure cutout, pretty straightforward when you're just identifying one component at a time. There's your phase monitor. I'll show you a picture of that. Green is good, red is bad. It's pretty simple. Phase monitor, so you just want to swap two of those legs, two of the three legs, and you should be up and running. But again, green flash is good, red means you need to swap those phases. And here's another good picture of that hinge panel. I have seen them to where these during transport have fallen out. So you get an error. So you'll have a blank one right here, and this will be dangling. So just speed yourself up. I always tell everybody in residential stuff, always double check your sensors and locations. Make sure everything's in its place because they come from Texas. They come from some of them from Mexico. They take a beating during transport. We've seen them smashed to bits when the air shocks give out and whatnot. So these things take a beating. Tonnage, Always you want to know what tonnage you have and set it correctly, because that's going to control your compressor 1 or 2. Compressor outputs are dependent on the model number of the RTU. Space controller, again, they come for dual set point zone sensor. So if you have it under the dual set point zone sensor, it is going to be looking for signals right here. So if you have a 24-volt thermostat, you're going to be sending signals right here, and it's going to be looking right here. It's not going to do anything. So you're going to come in here, you're going to tell it it has a conventional thermostat, and now you can jumper it out right there, or do whatever you need to wire it in for a normal thermostat. Again, if you have a humidity sensor installed, it's going to prompt an alert. You're going to have to go in here and say not installed. So I just want everybody to be aware of, it should come perfect from factory as factory ordered. If you have to add accessories, you will have to come in here and change it. Economizer type, comparative enthalpy. If you have this set up as comparative instead of dry bulb economizer, we're just using the temperature of the supply air through that discharge air temperature tube, and I'll show you that. Enthalpy, we're using multiple sensors inside the return air cabinet. We're checking humidity and return air temp too. So then it's going to be looking for all those sensors. And if you don't have all those sensors, prompts the alert. Discharge air temperature sensor, you're just going to go in. Setup is pretty smooth. Once you play with it a few times, you start to understand its navigation. Frost stat is standard on all RTUs, and that plugs into our P21. So if we're not getting a frost stat input, first thing we're going to do, we're going to check that P21, make sure we have something on that Symbio control board. We're going to follow it over here to our PPF 17, which that is inside where? The hinge, that door hinge. Discharge air sampling tube. Easiest way to do it is order it from factory with this already installed. I did not get my horizontal one. Nope, here it is. This is horizontal. Okay, so be aware of this. Horizontal is going to be different than downflow. Downflow, it's going to be set up like this. So if we are converting it to horizontal, there will be a horizontal application because our ductwork's going to come out. I do know a few of you have some horizontals going in, but you're going to rotate that and put it upwards into the airstream. Again, this is just a sampling tube that the actual wires are mounted up in here and inside the evaporator control, and it is insulated in there. I think I added that picture. Let me see. But again, these are in your installation instructions. You got to know what unit you have to make it easier to navigate to the install, because they flood you with every application that could be, right? And then you have these clips that you can move around. The biggest thing is we want these airs, we want air to be entering into the little perforated tubing. I added this because, again, buildtechhelp.com. If you're not taking advantage of this, please do. It is there for your convenience and tutorial videos. They work hard. The factory puts out tutorial videos. This is a 7-minute discharge air sensor installation. You got guys in the field, refer them to this video. Take 7 minutes and watch it. It's going to save you 20, right? So that's how I see it. Watch a darn tutorial video before we attack it, and it's hopefully going to speed everybody up. And I've always been about eliminating questions and concerns. So if we can eliminate those, we speed everybody up and you feel good about your install, and you know it's done factory per factory spec. Frost stat is mandatory. There it is. It's insulated. Again, it's going to be installed on all of them. If it says uninstalled or not installed, you will prompt an alert. Again, just showing you a screen, supply air smoke. If you don't have it, it's going to be non-installed. If you ordered it with it from the factory. Indoor options module required for heat. Okay. Again, this was from the Odyssey one, but it's important. This is the IMC communications. So remember that little harness I showed you earlier that you had to take out? You're going to remove that and then you're going to land it on both sides of this. So one comes in, one comes out. These are communication, so it doesn't matter which pins you go in. Electric heat connections. This is a big one because what if you're installing an electric heat kit, but you didn't get the options module? We have had this board looks identical to the economizer fresh air options module. The only difference is this is labeled differently, right? So the indoor options module for electric heat is 7.5. What is the economizer fresh air options module? 7.6, right? If it's ordered from factory, you're going to come with this little jumper, I think it's a J11, has a bunch of different wires in it. That is your jumper plug. That's addressing it to 7.5. It's not going to hurt anything if you address this to 7.5. Again, you're going to power cycle, turn it off, address to 7.5, and turn it back on, and that will now be your heat strip indoor options module. Why I was bringing this up, I'll show you. So here's our indoor options module. Here's our heat strip down here. Here's where our electric heat connections. Remember that? That's where our electric heat connections land. This is just a temporary zone sensor they had on. There's our 700, right? So it's coming through power. Here's that harness that I was showing you earlier. This comes, if you don't have options module set, you're going to remove that and go ahead and plug it right in. Again, here's our electric heat connections. So you're going to wire up your electric heat kit. You're going to come up here and you're going to land it right here. What I've seen quite a few times now, I don't know if they didn't open the panel, they didn't have the board at first or whatnot. This electric heat gets installed. They see this connection, because remember, this is the same board. It's just addressed differently to tell it different functions. They ran over, plugged the heat strip into these connections. So I've seen it a couple times. Just be aware of it. Your heat strip runs up into the indoor options module. Indoor options module is for heat strip. Factory installed smoke detector. So if you have a supply air, sorry, this is for supply air. The return air plugs in on a different board. So if you have your evaporator temperature sensor, static pressure transducer, condensate overflow switch, this all comes off of our indoor options module. Here's our electric heat inputs, P6 or P7. Again, if you have one of these installed, but you don't have an indoor options module, it'll prompt you and tell you your communications off. Again, here's how to edit it. Smoke, supply air smoke, installed or not installed, condensate overflow switch. You're going to just go right down the line. I put a note in here because most of us in the Northwest are just dry bulb. We don't need all the extra humidity levels because we don't have to worry about it, nor is the building spec for it. So if we just change it to dry bulb, all we're going to be looking for is that discharge air sensor. Remember, switch that to conventional thermostat. Here's our external auto stop. So this comes off the customer options module. Again, I have not seen any of these unless it was ordered with the ventilation override external auto stop, and they ordered it for humidistat. So again, this is right near the Symbio 700 control board. A remote minimum position also comes off of that board. So here's the dry bulb economizer using fresh air options module address 76. So again, here's those, it looks like where you plug in the heat strips, right? So it looks about the same. Here's our IMC connections. We are fresh air options module for the economizer right here. Optional sensors used for comparative dry bulb or comparative enthalpy are all going to land. Here's our return air smoke detector. So our return air smoke detector lands on the fresh air options module. Power exhaust, we see this a lot, and you're going to land that on your P6, and you're just going to tie it into a 24 volt. So that's just going into a relay that's going to supply your 24 volt to the power exhaust relay. And then you're going to set it up for power exhaust. And here's your clogged filter switch if you have that. Here's your power to your actuator. So 24 volt DC out. So then you get the feedback. So here's a horizontal low leak. It's going to tie into the same area. Relief fan only. This is your space pressure. So if you do have your power exhaust, space pressure control. So that's where it's going to close that relay upon contact or when called for. Return air smoke if factory installed. Again, that's if factory installed. If you have the ducted existing duct smoke detector, you're going to wire it into J18. So you will not have this, you'd say not installed. We're going to wire it into the e-stop. Economizer type, once you turn on fresh air or outside air, it'll give you economizer type. We're going to change that to dry bulb unless you have it ordered for comparative enthalpy. There's our factory smoke installed. Return air sensor connection. We get a lot of calls on this. This is right by the actuator for the economizer. That is a return air thermistor. That is not required for dry bulb economizer, so there's nowhere to plug it in. Nowhere to read it, just so you know. That comes, you're going to use that with the comparative enthalpy. This is Appendix B. I can send you. So this is all your configuration type in that general configuration, all your equipment type, your fan type or system type CVCT. This is everything that you could select, conventional T-stat, indoor fan type. Make sure you put multi-speed. If you have it at single speed, you'll prompt an alert because it knows that it's a multi-speed. Indoor fan VFD. So there are some cases where we didn't have that EBM. That EBM Pabst is that plenum fan. So that is a variable speed plenum fan. If you see a Mitsubishi VFD in the, you're going to see it right here. I'm going to show you. As you open this, there'll be a Mitsubishi VFD. That's going to control your indoor fan speed. I have seen it to where we had some Mitsubishi VFDs, and that's when we have to come in here and program it for indoor fan type. You're going to choose Mitsubishi, and then it will register that Mitsubishi VFD. And that was in digit 12 and 13. If it's ordered from factory, it should already come set up with these if you ordered them with the unit. Emergency stop. Okay, so here's that J18 emergency stop. So if we have that field installed smoke detector in the duct, or we're keeping the existing one, this is a normally closed J18 e-stop. or normally open. Sorry, this is normally open. You're going to go into Tools. You're going to select the service. And again, they're constantly updating this, but right now you're going to go into Service at this. So you can reset. So if you change out the compressor, you can reset the compressor time. Here's where you could reset diagnostics. They have changed this. This is now in the alarms. And the top, it has a little 3 digits. Again, once I commit it to memory, they change it. So be prepared for that. Alarms, you're going to press the top 3 digits. I didn't add a screenshot, apologize. And it's going to say reset diagnostics. So keep that in mind. You might need to do that. So you're going to scroll to the bottom of that page. You can also, when you add boards, instead of power cycle, you can come in here in IMC link reset. You can reset it. So then it's going to look for whatever boards you've addressed or added. So you don't necessarily need to power cycle everything. You're just going to IMC link reset, and it's going to look for all the new boards you've installed. Customer connection polarity. Customer connection polarity, you're going to reverse it. So normally is normally open, reverse will be normally closed. So here's our equipment shutdown input status. Yeah, kind of a long thing to get to that selection, but that's where it is. The secret Symbio alarm, and it will shut down the system. They've recently changed this, so factory default, it comes for 0, but they were default at 400 hours. At the end of 400 hours, it shuts down the system. So it will say active alarm, it shuts down, air filter timer will shut down equipment operation. So job security, leave that at 400 and make sure that they're changing their filters, or put it to 0 so you don't have that shut down and let the filters get plugged. I leave that up to you. But if you set it to 0, it won't happen again. I kind of like that idea because it does prompt. I mean, anybody changing filters have seen those filters extremely plugged before, because they have the cousin of the building owner up there changing filters quarterly, and it was never done or whatnot. Service test mode, again, this is Bluetooth, so it's only good for about 25 feet. So unfortunately, you have to stay near the rooftop unit. Once you put it in test mode, cool 1, cool 2, defrost, emergency heat. If you got an economizer, it'll have test economizer. Default time stays in test mode 60 minutes. Then the mode will return back to inactive state. So if you do forget to take it out of test mode, it'll reset in 60 minutes. And we go into tools, service test mode, and we're gonna have a little blue go. Again, it will stop all normal functions once you go into test mode. Factory wired for 230. Unless ordered differently. So keep that in mind. Unit is factory wired for 230. You might have to change your transformer taps to get a good 24-volt output. We have had that happen a few times in the field, get calls. We're not working because we don't have a good 24-volt. Precedent startup form. Now, I don't know if these are coming with the equipment paperwork. I hope they are, but I do have these. I hope you're getting these per pieces of equipment. We need to go through the precedent startup form, take a picture of it, document it for you and your records of the system. You might want to submit it into train.warranty. Keep in mind, the warranty starts when the unit ships out, pretty much. It's 3 months from shipping date. So that warranty is just a fail safe in case it doesn't get registered. So if it could sit on the rooftop for a year and your 1-year warranty, commercial warranty, is already expired. So it's not a bad idea once you do a startup to send in this to your Tyler or Tyler.warranty, and they will give you the new startup date on that piece of equipment, and that 1-year warranty will start from startup date. So that's, in my eyes, pretty important, because we have had units with issues possibly, or they need to replace something because it got fried due to miswire the line voltage, and it was already out of warranty. So just keep that in mind. Startup checklist. Does the unit have BAS? It's going to want to know. Did you verify the crankcase here is on? What's your fan type, right? Is there an economizer installed? What's your gas piping, condensate drain installed? What's your compressor serial numbers? Some of it might be overkill, but it's going to be important to have that information at a later date if you need it. It's going to save a lot of time, right? We do recommend doing startups on everything. So many times we get a call in 2 years saying something has failed, and I ask for a startup, and there's no records of startup, but we don't know the exact startup date because nothing got registered, or nobody ever gauged up to the system to hasn't been maintenance in a couple years too. So there's a lot of reasons to complete the startup. Once you know what to input in here, and you can take that voltage pretty quick, outside air temperature, what is your actual control transformer. If we're actually checking our line voltage at startup, we're going to save a lot of callbacks, right? So we're going to confirm that we actually have our good power supply. And if the building does get hit with some kind of power surge and they have to repair it, and we can verify, hey, look, this was our line voltage at startup. What happened to the building? Now we can charge within that year for coming back to the building instead of giving them a free service call. What's your set points? Indoor motor airflow, right? So we can change our airflow on these. It's good to notarize what your actual amps, your horsepower RPM, what's your external static pressure. We've had a couple of them to where we went back out, and our static pressure, they just set the like for like on the roof, and that ductwork was, I don't know if they did a TI in there and took off one of the returns, but we had over 1.5 inches of water column, and that thing was not going to work like that. So they had to add a return afterwards. Electric heat, what's your actual amperage of the compressor, nameplate amps. You can verify outdoor fan motor. Again, what's all of our voltage, everything logged, what's our low side, what's our high side. Is our crankcase heater working? Again, we submit this information to the factory. It usually goes pretty smooth because they know you've documented. Light Commercial Help Center. Again, this is great QR code. I'm going to hit you with a bunch of QR codes. That's the Light Commercial Help Center. That was the train.support website I gave you. So that takes you right to that. Training links. This is from fieldtechhelp.com. So this will, the LCU is light commercial. So our residential partners down there, Tyler has put together some economizer videos for Honeywell Jade, which I don't support Honeywell Jade, but they have some tutorials on the Honeywell control for economizer. That's another great resource to take advantage of. And that's all I got for you. So if you want to scan, leave me a survey, give me a couple questions or recommendations on what kind of trainings you guys would like in the feedback. We can look at that. You can leave your email address. And if you want any of the Appendix B configurations, if you want that startup log in PDF form, how does twinning work with the 24-volt thermostat? There's no twinning at this time with A2L. The factory knows that is, and they are working on the mitigation controls for twinning purposes right now. You can get a hold of tech services because there is a twinning kit for the Odyssey splits where you're adding some relays and whatnot, but that's an open-ended question right now, right there. as far as the factory is concerned, right now, there is nothing. You can twin the Symbio and mitigation control boards together. They are working on it. I hope to see it by the end of the year. But right now, we need to know what equipment you want to do that with, and there might be a third-party twinning module that you can use.